2, 3, 4.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Power of Music Thinking. My name is Christoph Zürn, and this is the podcast for people with a musical heart and a wicked job. We're looking for stories, insights and tools from the big world of music to inspire leaders and followers to listen, tune, play and perform in whatever field you're operating. How can you tell a story through food and music? Are all chefs drummers? Should prominent leaders start a band together? In this episode, Creative Companion meets the creative chef. We have a lively conversation with Jasper Udink and Cate, artist, designer, futurist, keynote speaker, book author and drummer. He worked worldwide on exhibitions like London Design Week, Dubai Design and the World Expo in Milano, and for companies like Nike, BASF and Google. Jasper shares his approach to collective storytelling with food, music and design, and we talk about different tastes and diets and how to give goosebumps from natural vegan food to inspire people to create their own identity. He shares the story of the unripe peach and how reframing can be the start of a new product innovation. We chat about how you can listen to yourself to create your own beautiful story, shape your personality, and make decisions in consuming music, books, food, and life. Hello, Jasper. Nice to meet you and great to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Jasper, I would like to start with the question I ask all my guests, and it's like, what's the first memorable concert or performance or sonic experience that had an impact on you?
Wow. That's a good question. I think my dad had a party at his university, and I think I was 8 years old, and at the reception there was a jazz band. I think that was the first memory I have. And later on, when I think, then there was a concert of the Red Devils at the Pink Pop Festival.
Wow.
That made a lot of impact on me. I think those are the two biggest moments.
And Red Devils, I have never heard of.
No, yeah, it's a really old school blues band, and I was the guitar player was awesome, and there was this guy. I don't think he lives anymore, but he was he was playing the mouth harp.
Yeah. Blues harp.
Blues harp. And we at home we recorded the concert, and I came back and I watched the tape of the Red Devils concert for 1 year, every week twice.
All right.
And I can still remember the whole solo of one song, and I can play it on the mouth harp. So
okay, wow, you can play.
Yeah, a little bit. So, but it was and I really liked their style because they brought old music, old style Chicago blues, and they were at the Pink Pop Festival, like a
big festival in
big
the Netherlands.
Festival, and so it was I really liked it. It was new to me, but old music. So yeah, it made an impact.
Great. Jasper, we are here in your beautiful studio with a lot of art, with musical instruments, with a lot of books and prototypes. So it's very interesting to look around. But can you introduce yourself? So who are you and what do you do for a living?
Yeah, so it's always a hard question, but I try to keep it short. So my name is Jasper and I have a studio that's called Creative Chef Studio. And what I do, I create art and design objects and I present them with an experience around it. And those experiences are always linked with food. I have a background in food. And so I make memorable moments for people using art, design, food. And a lot of music comes with it, and scent, and storytelling. So that's basically what I do, and I do that for museums, I do that for design exhibitions. I do it for companies, marketing-wise. It's interesting for them to use a different kind of vision to present their products, so they can hire me for that. And that's that's in short what I do. But basically, I'm a creative cook who combines disciplines to make something memorable.
And how does this work? So, does this mean you are hired for a dinner or a product presentation, or you've been at big fairs like Fuori Salone in Milan? And how does this work? Is this more a project for, let's say, one night? So people would ask you, just cook for us something with a very big experience. Can you explain us how does this work?
Yeah, so you've mentioned them all. So I have two kinds. So one moment thing. So I did, for instance, I did for a big show at the Metropolitan Museum in New York. There was a big exhibition about Dutch paintings.
Okay.
And I did a dinner there, and I created an interactive, edible artwork. I presented them, and I told the story of the Dutch paintings through the food.
And what paintings?
17th century still life paintings.
Still life paintings.
Yeah.
Where you see a lot of food.
Yes. So that's what I do. So that was a one moment thing.
And to ask one more question about this one, how did the interaction work? So what's normally at a buffet, people go there, they grab their food, eat it, and are happy.
Yeah.
But what was special?
Yeah, we recreated a one-on-one a still life painting with a cheese and grapes in it, but it was exactly a copy of an existing work from Floris Claeszoon van Dijk.
Wow.
And we presented it at the dinner table, and people could say wow or interesting, and I would tell a story with it. And in the end, when the story was finished, we took all the food out of the 3D painting, and we turn it into a dish, so they could actually eat the story they just heard.
That's beautiful. So you fed the people out of a 3D eatable painting.
Yes, exactly. So that's those are things I do, but sometimes I also present like a topic, like the future food is a topic I work a lot with. And for instance, I did a show at Milano, in Milano, that's a design week, the Future Food City project. And I told a story about a better life in the future, how you have to change our food system. And people were part of an experience, and they could walk through a model of that Future Food City. It was an architectonic model, a maquette.
Oh, well, yeah.
So they actually lived there, and in the end, they could eat the food from that place, from the future. And people, that was it. But then people from a big company, a big shoe company, saw it, and they liked the idea behind it. So they invited me to do a workshop at the marketing marketing and development thing in the USA. So I flew to Portland, and there I did So it's all connected what I do, but I think the basic thing is I have the one ingredient, and that's creativity.
Yeah. And there's always something to eat.
There's always something to eat.
Talking about the Future Food Project, so it sounds like let's say some kind of installation or presentation, and at the end it's destroyed in the nice way, so that people they eat out of it.
Yes.
So what are you thinking about the future of food? Has this also to do with the way how we will grow food in the future?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yes. So basically, I provide people with a story, a hopeful story, and through this experience, I tell a story about how we could live in a utopian place 200 years from now. And I tell them about a typical day how they live there. And I tell them that the economic system is different. We don't have money anymore. We work together. We do everything sustainable. And each topic in that story goes with an ingredient. And in the end of the story, they go to sleep in the story. I tell I give them the dish, and they eat it, and they literally eat the story and their brains will connect with the flavors they eat. So the chance will be 75% higher. They will tell the story or something about the story to somebody else. So I use the food and the storytelling to plant a seed in their head, so they will tell the story to somebody else. And the idea behind it is, if you want progress in life or as human beings, you have to create collective stories. What you see a lot now is that people are I say you are right and you are wrong, but that's not what it's about. If we have a certain direction towards a bigger goal, like the future food city, a beautiful place to live in the future, then my job as an artist is to create a starting point for the people who come at my experiences, to tell that story to somebody else, and then you get progress. That's my big idea behind it, and I think I do that just that with all my projects. So I create a story, and I hope it goes somewhere, and it's meaningful for somebody else.
Yeah. Oh, it just pops in my mind that when you present this for example, for a company, that in one way they also want to get a message across,
Yes.
and that they're using you, but using in a nice sense to get this story across. And one thought that I have, it's always, what can you create together? But also, people have different tastes, different diets.
Yeah.
How can you handle this in, for example, in your future project?
Yeah. Well, I always keep it. I always keep it natural, so I only serve vegetables, and I don't do things that's not cool with all these kinds of diets. So that's what I do.
So just sorry to interrupt, but that's if you take it natural, does this mean plant-based?
Yeah. So plant-based. I'm not 100% vegetarian or vegan, but I cook mainly vegan. But I also think it's not about the person who eats something. It's about the balance with the food system and the person who's in that food system. So when it's needed to grow food, and we need chickens to walk around there, and they give manure for the plants, then it's okay. And at the end of the life of a chicken, maybe to eat it. If you don't want to eat it, that's okay. But for me, it's all about the balance. So the story I always want to tell about future food is about the ecosystem. We are not. We don't want to take stuff from the earth, but we have to work together with the earth. I think that's the main idea I have, and but it's hard because we are used to take. Myself also. So. Yeah, but I think when you grow your own food, so I also have a garden. I work together with a gardener. Henk is his name, and he's a really cool guy. And together we grow our crops. I serve at my experiences, but everything is nice there. Everything, we have bees, we have fruit trees. Everything is connected with each other. And when you go there and you pick all the ingredients. You do it with care. You don't take everything. You have to be there, pick the stuff you can pick, but you also have to take notice of all the other plants and stuff that's there. They have to survive also.
Yeah.
So you have to do it with respect. And when you serve a dish that is connected with the balance of that ecosystem, that's a good thing. But what we do now is we listen to the customer what they want, and then we listen to them. But I think you have to turn it around. The customer has to listen to the ecosystem.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's also a little bit helping them to learn or to educate them, and maybe also to seduce them to taste something that they might not know exactly what it is, but they just they make the difference with their tongue.
Yes, exactly, and it's more fun. It's like a surprise. What's on their plate? We have to listen to the nature. What will be on their plate? So, I think it's a better way to look at ecosystems and how we should work together with the planet and make it a better world.
And because you're in the power of music thinking, there's a musical link. So
Yes,
that was for me very interesting to talk to you, and because your story is very interesting, and also thinking about the ecosystem, the multisensory. But there's also music in your CV, in your way of thinking and doing.
Yes. Besides food, I think and visual stuff. I think music is one of the most powerful things we have as human beings. It connects people with each other. It gives you goosebumps. It connects with your emotions. It can tell a story to somebody. It can inspire people. It literally is like a tool for people to create their own identity. So it has a lot of things that's really inspiring, and it's also a nice way to enhance experiences. So I use also, besides I make music, but I also use music and sound to get a message across. And I think it's one of the most powerful tools at this moment. There's a simple project I'm doing now, a project in a museum in Utrecht, and we have an audio tool, an audio tour, and it's about two subjects, one in the 17th century and one in the 20th century, and just changing the music explains it that you're in a different time zone. So the power of music is it's great.
Yeah, and the different way how it sounds.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
What's your instrument?
My main instrument is drums, but I play a little bit of bass and a little bit of guitar. But it's good enough to create music. Let's put it that way.
Do you see any relation in the way how you make and experience music, in the way how you produce your, let's say, your dinners?
Yes, certainly.
Because with how many people are you? Let's say we had the New York example, or the future of food. How many people are involved in producing this?
Yeah, I work with people around me. So it differs. Sometimes alone. Mostly I do it with one partner, Jeroen, a good friend of mine who is really good in productions. But at a big thing, then I work with 10 people. Sometimes something like that. But you cannot do everything alone.
Yeah.
So
and how does this work? Do you have a concept, or do you even have a score? Like an analogy that I'm using very often is a musical score, where everything is written out for every instrument, and you really have to bring it on the spot perfectly. So when people come in, that this works. Or is it a very open score with a lot of improvisation in the last moment, and maybe part of the improvisation in creating new experiences?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think what I do is I make the book of the music, where the music is in. I make it really beautiful and strong, and it has a good coating and a good picture. But the music itself is really free. So at an experience of Creative Chef, a lot of the spontaneous things that will happen, I like to use it. I have this background in making jazz music, and I think it was one of the most valuable things to learn, because of jazz music, you learn to work with a framework, and there's freedom inside that framework. And there's I think the beauty of music is when you play jazz music, you can enjoy playing music very much, because you can reach this moment where you get, like, without talking, you communicate with each other and you create something in time and space. That's the beauty, I think, of jazz music. But there's only one thing, you have to keep it a little bit in the frame you decided.
Yeah.
And when you reach that moment, when everything works, that's the moment you will always be searching for afterwards. So I'm always searching for the feeling I had or have when I make jazz music and it works all together. And I think later on I use that freedom or that expression also in making food. When I plate when I do my platings of my food, I do it in a. It's not about how I design it, but it's the feeling I put into it. So when you think, I consider thinking during the moment, during the process, is not good. And I learned that because of music. So that's I think the way I do my stuff in the moment. But before you start an experience where people come and eat and experience your artwork, you have to set it really good and tight. So you have to have a good place where you can perform. You have the lighting has to be good. The people who bring the food. So you have to arrange it really good. But the product itself, the food or the story you have to tell, I always search for the jazz improvisation freedom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this means the more planned part is the organization, what it has to do, how many people are involved, what's the maybe intended effect that you want to create. For example, when you get hired by a company, but and the food itself is already planned before, but the presentation is then the
presentation, but the food itself also. I never say this is what you're going to eat. I always say this is something like this is what you're going to eat. So that's what I tell them, and then a day before the event, I go to the garden and I say, this is what we have today. I'm going to do this with it. And I think that's one aspect. So and the story always changes. So I have a basic music piece in a story way, but I can change it, because when I'm in front of kids, and I have a nice connection with a little kid who's really interested, I can use his being there, his or her being there. I can use it in a story. So I like to improvise. And it's more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Does it works with kids? Does it also work with grown-ups in a corporate company?
Yeah, it works with grown-ups, but there are certain companies that are easier on this, and certain companies who are surprised by this kind of working. But I think it's always positive. It has a positive outcome. But there are questions, people who want something from me, and I now learned that maybe you should not hire a jazz guy, but you should hire like a rock guy or
yeah. So then we get the genres, the different styles of. I also can imagine that there are also different styles of food. Yes. So if you, let's say, punk, I have a certain idea how this could look like and how people take how much time to prepare it, and maybe an opera or a longer form would look different. Is this something where you think about, or is this more intuitively?
I used to think about it, but it's in the end you have to do the stuff that is you.
Yeah.
So
It's your personality.
yeah. So if I do opera, maybe I can add a memory of me. I used to live for a year when I was a young kid in Austria, in Vienna, with my parents, and I have this remembrance of the Mozart Kugel and the what was it? Zagatorte.
Yeah.
It's like a chocolate cake.
Very rich, creamy.
Yes. So that's the thing. And I went to my first opera there as a kid. So
Do you know what it was? What opera was it?
it was like an operette. It was
operetta,
like
yeah.
No, I cannot remember what the name is.
Yeah,
But
something with Strauss maybe in Vienna.
probably. So when I think of opera, then I think of chocolate.
Okay.
But that's really based on who you are as a person and your culture, because we learn to make connection with something. Why is punk music?
Yeah.
Well, why is it? So that's interesting, and that's also the thing I'm interested in the food or in the art I create. Why is it what it is?
Yeah.
So what happens if you have an opera and you play punk music in that opera house? Well, what will the opera audience say? Will it be like new or? Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, interesting thought.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the genres, because we always say every music is good.
Yeah.
Let's say that every music is good, and every genre is good.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily that everybody likes everything. And I think that's maybe also a good analogy with food.
Yeah.
So every food per se is good, and I don't talk about real processed food. So I just and this comes together.
Yeah. Every food is good. And everybody learns to eat food in certain ways. Everybody has their culture. Like Dutch people, I'm from the Netherlands. We eat in 20 minutes, and then we go to our friends and drink beers. In Italy, you start at 6 or at 7 or 8. You go to the table and you sit till 12 o'clock. So that's a different thing, and that has also it's the kind of food. It influences the kind of food we eat in the Netherlands or somewhere else. So that's interesting. But what I'm really interested in is the way we learn how to eat and how to connect with flavors. I always tell the story about the peach. It's a short story.
Please tell.
But you can apply it on music or any other genre or thing. When we eat a peach in Holland, we learned when it's not ripe, then you put it away. Then you don't eat it. But it's because of the story around that peach is that it has to be sweet, nice, juicy, etc.
Yellowish,
really nice. But what happens if you change the story around the unripe peach? What will happen then? For instance, when you sell that unripe peach in the store, in a store, what should you do? Well, you have to change the name, because then we don't connect anymore with that other story. So let's call it a tomato peach. A different product, really hard, a little bit of acid in it, acid taste. And we sell it not at the fruit section, but between the cucumbers and the tomatoes. It has another place in the story, in the store. Then it becomes a new product, and then it's a good way to sell peaches that are not as ripe as the sweet ones, but you can eat it with salads and fish, etc. So it becomes a new product because you changed the story around it. That is what I think is really interesting, also in my art or in music. We listen a lot to the truth of things, or the genres, but I think the trick in life is that you have to listen to yourself. What's your view on a thing? Everybody is free to create their own perception of the truth of an object. Also in taste and flavor, also in music. I think that's a big thing. When you realize that, then you can play along with every concept and create something you would like to create. The only thing you have to do is create it in such a way that if you want people to see it, that you create a frame around it or a good story around it so people can connect with it. Because there's one big thing, and that's stories. I think even when we were talking about music, memories, when you go to a concert, it becomes a memory. It becomes a story I tell to other people. It became part of who I am as a person. So all those stories stacked together. In my case, it's like a melting pot of concerts, people I met, dinners I had, the food I eat, and the books I read. Culture is very important. But the thing is, it's really interesting to be able to play with those stories. You as a person don't have to listen all the time to stories, but you can make stories. And I think that's also one of the biggest powers music is. Music is a power, a thing that can create stories really easy. So you make music together. That's a story. You are a musician yourself. You know what I'm. And that story is linked with the music you make at a place. So you have a memory of the place, of the food you had when you were on tour with your band, and the music worked really good. And you have new ideas for music, and you talk with each other, etc. But you also perform that music, and hopefully, if it's good and people like it, then it becomes a memory for them too. So that's what keeps the world running.
Right, that's the performance thing. You might know in the music thinking framework, which is something I developed, is it's listen, tune, play, and perform.
Yes.
And the basic idea is, while you perform, as a performer, a musician, as a chef, as an artist, the others are already listening. So that's the circle that's coming around.
Yeah.
And it depends on the genre, how much listening, how much tuning, how much playing, and how much performing is there in your story, as you say.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. Stories are beautiful. So when you go, I always say to myself, but that's more my. There's this one negative thing about myself. I always say sometimes I'm a little bit lazy. So I always try to think. So what story did I make today for myself? Well, when it's for weeks the same story, then I have to do something, and that's more of a way to challenge myself to do something new, and to feel myself. I feel useful. I feel fresh, energized when I conquered myself again and created a new story. And sometimes you make like 20 stories in a week, and sometimes when I'm when it's more winter, I make like one story a week. But I think you are that story, and so you have to make it happen. And the cool thing is, I mentioned it before, is that music and creating stuff is also a really good way to create stories for yourself.
Nice. And I just had the thought that creating your own story and connecting it with food, it's also when you're in a family, you have a certain way of eating, and that's created by your ancestors, maybe your grandma or your father, and that's something that's a part of you.
Yeah.
And what you just said is encourage people to start your own family, or to take everything that you have and create something new. And it doesn't have to be necessarily totally different, no. but there's a new perspective on the story.
Yeah. And I think the perspective of something is what it's all about. There's like a popular perspective on a certain topic, and what you usually see, people start to talk about this perspective on a topic, and then it grows, and then a lot of people will earn money because of the perspective on this topic. But then it's the good thing, the cool stuff is when you create a new perspective.
Yeah.
Then you feel alive because you're not copying something, and then you feel like a meaningful you contributed something or to in space and time, and that's when you feel happy.
And that also relates to the business world. It's not always just being the copycat and the quickest. It's also to create your own product or service or story. So that's also the idea why doing music or creating, let's say, food in a special way, it helps you to also be in your business setting to do the same.
Exactly. Yeah, you could say it's better to sing a song than to wait, earn a lot of money, buy a lot of music gear, and then try to make something. You could make the song already months earlier.
Yeah, right.
So I think that's a mindset I really like, and I teach that to my kids, and I know what. But I think it all started when I started playing jazz music.
All right.
Because it connected with it made me aware of the possibility of mean something for an audience, but also while doing it, we were not playing the same stuff because I learned how to improvise. So I learned how to create something in the moment together. And business-wise,
that's very business. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, talking about jazz, what kind of jazz was it? So that we have an idea.
Well, I always think when you were a teenager, you are opening up to music, and then when I was in my 20s, I listened to complex music, and then I listen more, more soul, more funk stuff. But the kind of jazz I listened, it started with Miles Davis, with Charles Mingus. I really liked his style because it had this blues element. I really liked. But then it became. I had this moment with free jazz. I listened to a lot of 70s, like the new fusion sound. And rock jazz.
As a matter of fact, all the people that left Miles Davis in the beginning of the 70s, they started a band.
Yes.
and they, if it's Chick Corea, Keith, so John McLaughlin, all of them, they started something. That's also nice. I think that's also compares to food. So if you work together and everybody is taking his own way of developing this further.
Yeah. That's interesting. They all went their own way. Yeah, that's true.
Talking about drummers, these were Tony Williams and
with a great cymbal.
Bill Coppin.
Yeah, so that's so that was what I did. I also watched a lot of videotapes. So I bought videotapes with all these drum clinics on it with Bill Cobham and also an Indian guy. I forgot his name. But that was the time when there wasn't YouTube. So that's how you learned stuff. But I think my biggest influencer is Frank Zappa.
Oh.
So, and that's not because of the music he makes. I think it's awesome, but it's more about. I think Frank Zappa was a businessman.
Okay.
And he used great skill of business and presenting himself as a brand. And that was the only way how he could get his story across, because it was like Varese music. It was in
Edgar Varese, Ionisation.
That was his inspiration. Doo-wop music, rock music, theater. It was too complex for people. So he had to find out a way how to present it. So he created this story around his being with the mustache, all the everything around it, all the art he used, the artworks, the cover, the cover of his albums, everything was really done really well. In every record he had this same subject that came back. He always he did something about his dog in every record. So it's a good big story, and he managed to fill big arenas all over the world with his music. But when you listen to the music for the first time, it's really complex.
Yeah.
So I think that's that's genius. I think it's really cool when you are able to bring that whole story across. And one of his tools was the music, but the combination of him, he as a person, what he stood for, the way he looked, how he did things, the humor, everything combined was like a movement. It was more than the music itself. So that inspires me to the day now. I think it's awesome.
And there's a great quote that brings all of these together from Frank Zappa. It's he talked about the complexity, and sometimes things are new, and it's like the mind is like a parachute, and it only works when it's open. So it's also on the jam card.
Yeah.
And I'm using this when I love his analogy with a parachute. So you can explain people what a parachute is, but when it's lying on the floor, there will always people say, "Oh, this won't fly. This won't. Won't save my life."
Yeah.
You have to understand the concept and the concept in working, and sometimes to give it a little bit more, little bit more patience to understand. So the mind, like a parachute, and the opening, and I love that quote very much.
Yeah, it's great, and in his story, it's all about the story.
Yeah.
Again, because but it's also, it takes courage to do that. To be. I always think it's really difficult to stand up and say, okay, I'm going to serve my food not on a plate, but I will throw it on the table. For instance, when you do that, I do that sometimes, but. The first time I wanted to do it, I made a proposal for a business case, and people were saying, "What? That's not how it's supposed to be." So, but after a while, people saw my work, my visuals. They heard about me, what I did, and then you create a story around yourself that makes it okay for you to throw food on the table. They expect it. So that's how you get things. Get a little bit of that people understand it.
Yeah,
but the way towards that point, that's a hard way.
Yeah, sometimes in business people say, "Oh, let's think out of the box. This would be literally a different box to serve the food." And in your book, How to Become a Creative Chef, you explain it, and so everybody could use your ideas. So maybe just to sum up, is there something in the book that it's very easy to prepare, or so that people have an idea from, oh wow, well, maybe I try this tonight or next week?
Yeah, but let's see. The most easy thing you could do is maybe what you use at your jam cards also, make like a print out a set list of which you can connect, which you can scan during the food. So serve a plate with some songs with it. So when you serve it, you can scan it together. So we have a cool soundscape during the food. That's the most simple thing you could do. But not only think about the plate or what the food is, what food you're going to put on it, but what's the story you want to bring.
Great. This triggers another story from me. So many years back, when I started to make sushi,
Yeah.
vegetarian sushi.
Yeah.
And I have 2 girls.
Yeah.
And what we did when making this, we used Japanese music, which was very slow.
Yes.
And when we set up the music, this means now we prepare everything. So
Yeah.
some people were decorating the table.
Yes.
And we used an old suitcase and with a cloth, and we were sitting on the ground. And so the music was playing all the time while preparing and while eating.
Yes.
And this made that my girls, and they were very young in that time, and they liked tastes that as a kid you normally don't like.
Yes.
So that's just pops up.
It's an experience. You created a story. It became a memory for them because you went outside of the normal way you do things. But you have to do it really carefully. I always say, for instance, when I hear your story, the first thing I thought was, when you turn on the music, you have to tell them, so let's turn on the music.
Yeah.
So then they become aware of the change. And then it becomes like a little film you are in. And together you do it. It's like a micro adventure you have together.
Yes.
And those are the things that become the memories in your life.
Yeah.
So and food, music again is perfect for that.
And also you're a drummer, also about timing. So it's like some food should be eaten maybe very slow. And tasty, and maybe without any other distraction, and maybe other food you could eat rather quickly. So that's also interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and I think the link with playing drums. I think a lot of famous chefs they play drums.
Okay.
There are a few Michelin star chefs who play drums. I think Jamie Oliver also plays the drums.
Oh, really?
But the thing is, when you drum, you are like the guy who is together with the bass player. You are in the driver's seat of the. So everybody hears you. You keep the pace. You do the rhythm. And
it's
you
the
do
basis of everything.
Exactly. Yeah. But also, I think maybe I'm not sure how it exactly works, but maybe you develop your brain in a different way because you are able to do certain things. Apart from each other.
Yeah, left hand is doing something else than the legs. And
you have to keep the track of the music. You have to respond to the music. But maybe that grows you into like a person who is really connected with what chefs do, because they have to do all these things together. They have to be on time. The first dish has to be served at 7:00.
Yeah.
So we don't need any bullshit. We don't want to sit around the table and talk a lot. No, we have to play. We have to do it. So we have to make the music happen on the plate. So it has to be there at 7:00, and the other chef or the guitar player has to do this. The horn section has to make the sauce. So everything comes together. And maybe as a drummer, as a chef, you learn how to develop that more that skill of silently telling everybody what they have to do.
Yeah, giving the pace.
Giving the pace. Yes.
And also having a very special perspective. So if talking about a band, the drummer is always in the rear, and he oversees actually everything, including he's looking through the soloist, the guitarist, or the singer. He's looking through them to the audience.
Yes.
Oh, I like this perspective.
Yeah, it's a. I always say, because my wife always says that I'm a really outgoing guy, but I also am I'm also shy a little bit when I'm new to somewhere, and I always like to be in the back a little bit. But when I'm there, I play the drums really loud. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So so I always believe when you have a certain character, you become who you hopefully you become who you are supposed to be. I think drum really suits my character also. Just as the fact that I like to cook, I like to give stuff to people. I think it's the same with music. You like to give stuff, and you want a reaction back. And the easy thing about being a chef is that you are in charge of the music. You're like more of a composer. And the harder thing about being a musician in a band is that you work together, making food to listen to. So you have to, what we should put in this ingredient, or maybe we should make it a more tasty sound as a band. And that's a hard thing when you're used to being a chef. But it's also a great learning school for I always say to people or to business people I know who work at a company, what you guys should do, you should start a band. It doesn't matter what kind of music you make. If it doesn't sound like the stuff you know, the only thing you learn as a musician is that you have to work together, because you have to serve or play that song in front of the audience on time, and you have to deliver, and you have to work together. So that's a cool thing about music. But then in the band, you have these certain instruments like drums or the bass that are really suitable for a certain character, I think. And then you have like the solo instruments. It's different characters.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating.
Interesting also to understand where you are, what's your perspective, what's your character,
exactly,
and what are the characters of the people you're working together.
Yeah. So maybe big leaders should start a band together.
Wow. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate this, because listening is one of the top leadership skills, and I feel honored about this. It is my mission to find, create, and share inspirations for meaningful collaboration based on music analogies. If you want to support this, please subscribe to the podcast, give us a rating, or write a review on iTunes or Spotify. And more inspirations can be found on musicthinking.com. We have a blog, and you can download the Music Thinking Framework. And finally, I would love to hear your feedback. And if you need help with a business challenge, please reach out to me via email, podcast@musicthinking.com.